Matt Wendell here with Eagle Claw Fishing. Today I'm excited to talk about a new product release with my buddy Wandy. Wandy, what is Meal Ticket?
Meal Ticket, okay. So Meal Ticket is a series of rods that we designed and developed a couple of years back. And the name is a play on words.
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering why we would call it Meal Ticket.
I was.
Okay, all right. These are not new to you. They're new to our friends online.
Yes.
Meal Ticket was a play on words. We came up with that because we were thinking about tournament crappie rods. Yeah. We were serious about designing and developing rods for crappie anglers, not just tournament anglers, but all crappie anglers. And Meal Ticket is, these rods are your meal ticket for the tournament because you can cash in a check or you can take a bucket of fish home. It's up to you. Either way, it's your meal ticket, right? Yeah. So that's where we came up with that, and we thought it was great. We love it, right? So, but it doesn't apply just to crappie anglers.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's trout guys too have loved the actions on these rods. We've caught bass with them. Yeah. Bluegill too. That's another great one for these rods. But yeah, that's where that name Meal Ticket came from.
That's interesting. Now tell me what's going on with all this green.
The green, you know, we've been a yellow rod company for a very long time.
Yes, we have.
A lot of people know Eagle Claw yellow rods. Well, some of the younger people these days would like to have something a little different than Grandpa did, right? Okay. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the yellow. But we wanted to spice it up a little bit. We went with this emerald kind of green here on it. And it's also a nice kind of almost camo-y color, right? It blends in when you're fishing on the water. They look really nice. And it's a high-end color, you know, on this kind of a rod. We wanted to go quality value. So we wanted to go high-end coatings, high-end accessories, high-end materials. At the best value. Yeah. And so that's why we liked it. We love that green, and that's why you can tell I like green. So
I was just gonna say you blend in pretty well there.
I know. I've got the lime green and the dark green shirt. So yep.
So tell me about the other color that's on the tip of the rods.
Okay, so when we designed these rods, one of the biggest things that a lot of the tournament crappie anglers, you know, we went to the Crappie Classic, and we started like 3-4 years ago, going around talking to guys in the Midwest, talking to guys in the South, went to talk to different crappie shops, and then went to the Crappie Classic too. And the feedback was that when you have long rods in any kind of crappie rod line like this, and we have everything from 10 up to 16 foot long rods, it's hard to see the tip. Yeah. When you've got those rods sticking so far out, and especially on the jigging rods where guys are vertical jigging due to forward-facing sonar, they want to be able to see the slightest tick or bite, right, on the end so they can set the hook. And that is why we decided to go with fluorescent orange, because that is the color that crappie anglers said is the most visible color to have. So that's why the tips on them are fluorescent orange. And we decided, you know, why break that, right? Let's be consistent. Let's put it on all our 6.5, 7 foot, 8 foot rods. Yeah. They all have that fluorescent orange tip.
You talked about cosmetically earlier, the components. There's a lot going on component-wise between spinning rods, jigging rods. Like, why is this reel seat in the middle of the rod, whereas the spinning rod, it's at the top of the rod?
Yeah, so when it comes to certain types of rods, you know, when we're talking to these crappie guys, you know, if you're fishing for crappie, especially a tournament guy, and you're chasing crappie all day long, a jigging rod that's 10 foot plus, it gets to be a lot. It wears on your arm, it wears on your wrist. And so what we're trying to do is balance the rod and the reel out. So when you get a reel on the rod, it's placed in such a position so you can have your hand in front of it or behind it. Or if you want to two-hand it, you can. And it balances between the length of the rod and the reel seat. So now you've got a perfectly balanced rod-reel combo versus just the rod by itself. You know, if you put it too far forward, now the tip of the rod's tipping and you're trying to jig with it. And as you're jigging in that motion, right, it's going to wear on your arm. So in this case, we put it further to the back, but not all the way back, right? So you've got room to grip, and it balances everything out.
What's going on with this EVA foam? Because it's just not regular EVA.
No. So this is it's EVA foam, but then they have this wrapping on it called X-Wrap. And basically what that does is it allows to have more grip to the rod. you know, if once you get on a school of crappie, right? I mean, it can be fast and furious. So you know, any rod, you're getting that crappie in the boat as fast as you can, right? You're flipping it in. If you got a jigging rod, you're reeling it and then flipping it in. You get the crappie off fast. You don't have time to sit there and be wiping your hands off, washing them, doing this and that. Sometimes you just get back in the water and you keep fishing, right?
Yeah.
And what it does, it adds an additional grip so that if you do get some fish slime, you do get some water on your hands, it's still going to be grippy. Yeah. Right. Even with that on there. So that's why we have the X wrap on there.
I mean, you talked about it earlier, the performance, right? We're thinking of all the things that you guys can perform better with, and then including the blanks. Tell me what's going on with the blanks of the rods here.
Yeah. So we went with a composite blank, which composite means it's blended glass and graphite. So you've got a high end, what we call S glass in the industry, which is a higher end glass, a little bit lighter weight. Blended with a high-end graphite. And what that has enabled us to do is to take super long rods, and this is the base of the 10-footer, and actually make that blank very thin compared to a lot of competitors out there that just use straight glass. Mm-hmm. It also allows us to do better actions on the rods because as we move out toward the tip, we get a little more graphite, so we can do a fast action rod, a moderate action. Yeah. And you see that throughout the series, right? There's different actions for the rods, but by doing that blended blank, you keep the quality high, you keep the value high, and you've got the ability to make the rod thinner and lighter. Yeah. And that's what we were going for, because by the time you get to a 16-foot rod, I mean, the blank is big enough as it is. You want to try to thin it out to make it lighter.
Yeah. You know, what's cool about these rods, like you said, the versatility of them. But what's going on in these jigging and trolling rods?
Okay, so jigging and trolling rods, you know, the reason these guides are a little bit smaller, and let me talk about all the guides since we're going to go into guides. Yeah. All these guides are tangle-free style guides, right? So, like, when you're talking about the taller guide, right, that's on this spinning rod, that's the stripping guide, the first guide, the stripping guide, right? And basically you pull that down typically so that the line flows straight off the reel. When it comes to jigging rods and trolling rods, you're typically not casting with these, right? Yeah. Like you would be normal spinning rod, or even like a bass guy, right? He's got a casting reel. But because some people like to use a casting reel or a spinning style reel, they like to be able to reel it in when necessary. They can let line out or put a spinning or casting reel on any of these rods because it's positioned perfectly that by the time a spinning reel line comes out, there's not any extra friction because it's too close to the spinning reel, right? Mm-hmm. It's far enough away that the line comes out smooth and it goes right through the guides. And then the same thing for a casting reel, because it's typically lower and closer to the rod, it'll flow smooth without causing any additional friction. So because these rods, the jigging and the trolling series, not casting them, right? We're not worried about distance necessarily. What they're worried about is just making sure the line goes out smoothly and has less friction on it. So we designed these because some guys like to use a bait caster, some guys like to use spinning, and so to be able to use it both ways, that's why the guide, this first stripping guide, is a little bit shorter than the long ones on a regular spinning rod.
That's interesting, and now we know, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm glad you brought up reels because we have a couple different reels, right? A lot of people, most people use spinning reels. We have a couple different sizes in our lineup, not only with the combos, but by themselves. But for the people that don't know, what is this majestic thing?
Okay, so this one, now I know you're a nice guy, so you're asking on behalf of our friends out there online. Yeah. These are called inline reels. And the reason people like to use them is because there's less line twist than you would get like on a spinning, right? Because the spinning comes off the top and, you know, the line comes out in a coil like this, right? Yep. And if you're vertical jigging, and that's the key here for the guys that are vertically jigging, the line, once they put line on here, it comes straight off the spool, right? So it's always flowing straight out. So it prevents line twist on a jig. And that's key because you don't want your jig in the water spinning around like this, right? Yeah. And so it was actually developed for ice fishermen, right? And ice fishermen have known about it for years. Crappie guys are just starting to get a hold of it and go, oh, forward-facing sonar, long crappie rods, right? They want to drop them straight out in front, you know, in a grass bed that they've torn up or over a brush pile or whatever. They want to be able to drop that jig straight down and be able to jig it right on top of those crappie and not have to worry about that jig spinning around. So they've actually started to adopt these, and we said, why not just give them the reels they want, right? In the right colors, in the meal ticket series, versus trying to adapt what we do for ice and say, hey, you don't buy an ice reel. Because you don't typically find a lot of ice reels down south, right? Yeah. Nobody buys them down there. So what we've done is we've created these reels. You've got the regular size. We have a micro one, which is a little bit smaller. And then the trigger one, which is a little different. To release the line, all you do is press the trigger and the line will come off, right? Depending on how you set the drag on it. So, these, you press a button and it allows the reel to, the spool to spin freely, and then you lock it by turning the handle. So 2 great options, or 3 great options for all of our guys out there who do vertical jigging, and you control with them too. It's not a problem, you know, because you're not casting with them. And so that's why we've added this to the line. That's what they are, right? They're inline reels. So a great addition to this series. So
component wise with these reels, I mean, you talked about it earlier, gear ratio is important, but what's going on internally? We're using aluminum?
Yeah, so a lot of great stuff to be said about the new meal ticket spinning reels, right? Again, quality value. Yeah. We want to give our customers quality and value. Sometimes on these cheaper combos, cheaper reels, they'll use a plastic spool, right? Or an ABS spool. We don't do that. This is all aluminum, right? CNC machined. They use a cheaper bail, right? This is a very thick wire bail that's on here, right? And you don't see that on a lot cheaper stuff. The handle didn't go cheap. CNC machined aluminum handle, right? It's a 5.2 to 1 gear ratio, right? It's a 5+1 ball bearing reel for both the size 10 and the 20, or 1,000, 2,000, however you like to call it. But we did not cheapen these reels to try to cheapen the combos, or to like cheapen the price tag. We want our consumers to have quality stuff, and great lightweight reels to go with these combos, to go with these rods, and we think our consumers are really going to like it. The same thing goes for these too, right? We have this high carbon reel on the standard inlines, right? 2.6 to 1 gear ratio, 5 ball bearings, on this. Whereas the trigger is a little bit nicer. You've got an aluminum spool, matte black. It's hard to tell. I know we like the matte black here to go with that green, right? I mean, it's just sexy. So you've got this 4+1 ball bearing, 3.1 to 1 ratio. Great options for the crappie guys out there.
Well, we're excited. You heard it straight from us. We always love feedback from you guys. Go check these out at your local retailers. Better yet, check them out at eagleclaw.com. I'm excited. I loved we were able to use them and test them out. I can't wait till you guys get them in the hands. Wandy, one last thing that consumers need to know about meal ticket.
One last thing they need to know. They need to get it in their hands.
There you go.
And it doesn't matter what species of fish. Don't be hung up on the fact that they say, crappie tournament. They are great for everything. Lake of the Ozarks proved that when we tested them.
See, you heard it straight from us here at Eagle Claw. We're excited about the future. We're excited to share it with you. Come check it out. Stay tuned for more.